Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show. And my guests, regular panelists, Abdul Malik Kubako, also Belinda Poaman, who's a lawyer, teaches at Gimpa, Joseph Dimdiok Pemka is the MP for Timpani, and he is the Deputy Minister for Attorney General Designate. Also, the Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, MP for North and he is a ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. I hope that you're enjoying the discussion so far. And I've got tons of messages which I will not read individually because they seem to say the same thing. And they're saying that as far as the Galamsey issue is concerned, they support what the two MPs are saying, but they doubt that it can be implemented because the people involved, they are the same people who sponsor political parties, and some of them are actually the party people themselves and all of that, party financiers. So it's going to be a very difficult thing to do. Then Kojo Yangson has a suggestion, Kojo Yangson of the Super Morning Show. He wants to know if we decided to rather start arresting owners of the lands used for Galamsey, we will not be making a headway in this regard. So we should begin to legislate that your land should not be given for it. In fact, it is illegal.
There are instances where it's an invasion of those lands without the consent of the owners. The owners report cases to the police. For sometimes there are operations. They chase the people out, they arrest some, but nothing happens eventually.
John Woman in Accra says, in Pokwase, says that the only solution in my mind is for government to ban all small-scale mining, declaration of a state of emergency, and mounting of an operational force from Accra with 2 to 3 helicopters that will fly over the country, spray and flush out all operators. When you say spray, what do you mean? Oh, gee.
We shouldn't get to state-sponsored.
Yes, we should be careful.
We should be careful.
This one is coming from, it says, you are in New York, is it? You say that we have only one chance to stop this barbaric behavior. Stop small-scale mining, period. Michael Amening in the UK. Getting potable water to drink in Ghana in this 21st century is still a great problem for Ghana because of the reckless and indiscriminate destruction of our water bodies due to activities of Galamsey. And I humbly appeal to President Akufo-Addo to take a critical policy initiative that will address this national canker. Thanks for those messages. And a lot more of you who are still dealing with the Delta Force issue and calling on the president to crack the whip on the Delta Force and invisible forces. Let's move now to deal with the matters coming from Kintampo. We'll see how we can deal with that quickly so that we can move later on to the implosion in the National Democratic Congress. The leaders are speaking, everybody is talking. And in fact, some are warning that if they speak, the NDC will collapse. So what exactly is going on there? But you know that 20 people or so are confirmed dead in Sunday's accident at Kintampo, during which a tree is supposed to have crushed revelers who were enjoying themselves at the place. And these are students from the Wenchi Methodist, is it? Yeah, Wenchi Methodist Senior High School, and a couple of them from another school close by the place, the University of Energy and Natural Resources. Now, the The President has sympathized with the families. Dr. Baumia has been there, the Vice President. He has been there, the Regional Minister, and Suchreme, right? He's also been there. You have had the Tourism Minister, who has also been there themselves. And after that, they ordered the shutdown of the place whilst investigations are conducted. I start with the Honorable Deputy Minister Designate for Attorney General. How do you assess that situation and what should be done?
Samson, first of all, let me say deepest condolences to the bereaved families. But there's a dimension I'm going to start from. Social media,
okay,
and the sensitivities that we give to some of these things. I saw some pictures on social media, and I think that those pictures were unfortunate. And those who posted them ought not to have done such things, because, you know, at the time, even when some parents were not aware of the incident, pictures were all over. And for a father or a mother to be going through the net and to see a child in that situation without any prior information, you could imagine what's likely to happen to him or her. So it was a very unfortunate thing, the way social media handled it. But back to the issue itself, very, very unfortunate. Another scar in our history. And that, what I will say is that never again should such a thing recur in our nation, that very innocent young persons go on an excursion to such a place to meet their untimely death in a manner as horrific as it happened. You know, I watched it and I was looking at something. You know, sometimes you look at act of God and you also play it against human error and all that. But I will say that to a very large extent, I'll put it on the two, that it was an act of God. Why? Because the circumstances of what happened could not have been anticipated at the time, that we're going to expect such a very heavy storm, and that the tree will be uprooted, and that at the time the tree is being uprooted, the school children were right there. You know, those coincidences put me in a certain tight situation that I can only say that it was a very unfortunate situation that occurred. And well, we pray for the souls of the departed. But again, were there not warning signs that we're going to have that storm? And if there were warning signs, why didn't we evacuate them from the place immediately? You know, because at the time that they were actually there, I don't know whether suddenly the storm came from nowhere, or there were signs that we had in the sky of clouds and all that, and the atmosphere was threatening that it was going to rain and etc. If there were warning signs and all, what precautionary measures were taken to ensure that they were evacuated from the place? It's a very unfortunate incident, and I think that going forward we need to put in place measures, and I mean measures proper enough to ensure that we deal with the situation once and for all, so that it does not recur in future. But I'd like to look at what government's position has been on this issue. His Excellency the President himself was first to make a statement on the issue, and he sent messages of commiseration to the people and sympathize with them and all that. And he also added that full-scale investigations will be conducted into it. Now, His Excellency the Vice President, when they visited the bereaved families and all that, the Minister for Tourism did. I think government's approach has been very swift, timely, and it's been very, very commendable. And what we need to do now is to ensure that we assist relatives to give the bereaved ones, the lost ones, befitting burial, and have funerals performed for them, so that we put in place a committee to do a full-scale investigation. And the full-scale investigation will actually unravel the circumstances that led to this bizarre incident, and then recommend measures to forestall future occurrence of such an unfortunate event. I think that it was a very, very sad story. I had just opened, I had gone into Ghana Web to read my usual stories when I saw the very gory pictures and then the story that accompanied it. And later on, I had it on a number of networks, including your powerful network itself. So I will say that that incident, singular incident there, marred the beauty of what hitherto had been a place where revelers go to sometimes weekends and sometimes weekdays to be able to have a view of that beautiful environment. I think that we need to, as a country, put in place measures, and I believe that it will be done. Sometimes very unfortunate incidents like this happen before we're able to put in place that measures that will forestall recurrence. And maybe we may have to be proactive going forward, so that we have to look at it holistically. You know, that's not the only place where we go as tourists in this particular country. We have the Moli National Park, we have Kakum, we have other places. So what are we going to put in place to ensure that what has happened in Kintampo does not occur? Because I believe that what happened there is only, some eye-opener for us. God has actually alerted us that there are dangers at these places. Again, I'm very confident that government will handle this and will come out of it very successfully. The assurances have come from the highest authority of the state. His Excellency the President, His Excellency the Vice President, the Minister for Tourism, and I believe the Regional Minister for the Bono Hafo region have all given their word and assurance. Yes, they have all given their assurances as to what will be done to ensure that full-scale investigations are conducted. All of us, now, if we have any pieces of evidence or assistance we can give to such a committee when it is formed, we should do so. I want us to look at this as a national tragedy, rather than looking at it from maybe some parochial party interest and all that. We should desist from taking partisan positions on this, because it's a national tragedy and we need to handle it as a nation and not as parties, so that at the end of it all, Ghana will be the winner, and then its recurrence will be averted for us to live peacefully as people of this country.
You're right about that. Now, you had stated that you were not sure, you wanted to deal with it in two angles: the fact that it's an act of God, and also that there will be some human element. And you rightly said, well, you couldn't have expected the storm. Well, storms can be anticipated. These days, they are always expected, and we must have a system that should tell us that you can expect a storm at this hour, and with precision, it should be so. But beyond that, there are those who have raised certain issues, particularly after the chief of the area had come out to say that the place or the facility had been taken over soon after the NPP was declared winners of the election. And this is the chief of Chirmakoma. He said that the NPP supporters had gone to take over the place and began to run it. We have heard from the NPP's Deputy General Secretary also say that he was actually in charge of managing the place. And in 2009, very terrible, NDC hoodlums came and chased his workers out. Actually, among the things he said, those who want to probe further should find out what happened in 2009. NDC activists, NDC hoodlums, NDC sympathizers invaded the place, chased my workers out, beat them up, vandalized the place, broke into offices, and they used the police. No policeman was able to touch them. And then he said, arguing that those who are questioning the competence and professionalism of the invisible forces to manage the facility should have done same when the NDC hoodlums took over in 2009. As far as he's concerned, he says, personally speaking for myself, and what happened to me in 2009, I don't think there is anything wrong if for one reason or the other, or another, some MPP sympathizers have taken over in a tete-a-tete affair. Now, I want you to listen to this. There was this individual on the ground who also admitted to reporters that he is a member of the invisible forces and that they manage the place, they take the money, and then they go and give it to the constituency chairman of the NPP. Of course, we have been told by Freddie Blay that this is not sanctioned by the party. Let's listen to that briefly, and then let's hear what Belinda Portman will have to say.
We have been clear and consistent. The president has been clear and consistent. And as his minister, I have pursued those clearly and consistently, that we have reacted in every situation that has been reported to us about people misbehaving, regardless of their political persuasion. Recently, we had the Gbogbolosho issue that there's a gentleman there called Bullet. People said is an MPP activist. He's been arrested. When we couldn't find him, we set out to look for him, and we've arrested him. All the takeovers, when we are informed, we go in there to take over. And I want to emphasize that is not the case that anytime there is that misbehavior, it is necessarily a party matter. And I want to say that when a person is an offender, there's no particular attached to it. And so we can say without any fear of contradiction that nowhere can you say that any particular person has misbehaved and has been immune from arrest or investigation.
So Kintampo
Waterfalls, I accompanied His Excellency the Vice President there. We went and saw, it's an allegation that has been made. We investigated. Because when we went there, I mean, we were so touched and confused by loss of such young lives that we were going about it, and immediately I didn't have any evidence that a particular group is responsible for running the place. Yes,
the claim is that they are the invincible forces.
Yes, we're going to investigate.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that bit?
When I came back to Accra, over there, and there are many things we hear, and not all of them are true. The important things are to be investigated, and whoever is in charge and did not do what is supposed to be done and is the cause of what happened will be dealt with. In any case, I'm not aware that invisible forces are the people to run that place. I'm not aware of that.
Okay, so that's rather the Minister for the Interior, Bruce Derry, who is assuring that those who are alleging that this is what has been going on and that they are the invisible forces who take the money. It's not alleging. This is someone who says he's a member of the invisible forces and they take the money and they give it to the constituency chairman or so, or the regional chairman or so. So he says they will be dealt with if the investigations confirm that that is what is going on. Now, Belinda, from what you see, is this group right? The Right Alliance Ghana says that because of some of these things, clearly you can also put the blame on those who were managing the place because they were not professionals. And so something ought to be done. What can we do?
Samson, rightly, I agree with that. Because what I see is that there was a gap because there were a group of people who were initially manning the place. So we assume they were professionals. So they're able to anticipate if there will be incidents that might affect tourists coming to the place. So once there was a hostile takeover of the place, so these new group of people who have come into the picture, are they well trained to man the place? Are they able to detect any areas that might cause accidents to individuals? It's difficult to say that they would be able to do so. So once there was a gap, these poor young souls had to suffer for this because clearly if there were trained personnel on the ground, though there is an act of God, but we can anticipate and then we can prevent it. So if we see that there's a storm, threatening, we can alert the children in the water to come out so that incidents like this will not affect them. So clearly there was a gap on the part of the invisible forces that took over the place, manning the place, that probably they are not properly trained to do so. And what I will say is that I commend the leadership for coming out strongly to support the bereaved families, the vice president, the president, all coming out to support them. And indeed, it's important that they have condemned this act of invisible forces if indeed they took over the place in a hostile manner to man it. And probably we can say some of their negligence resulted in the death of these young ones. And so it's a sad incident. We mourn with the families who have lost.
Are you saying, and this is one of your areas of competence in law, in tort law, are you saying that there are people who can be held liable even where we hear a lot about the act of God, force majeure is what must have happened? And I'm asking that also because I want to look at it on the back of the Tourism Act. By the provisions of the Tourism Act, specifically Section 29, you cannot own or operate such a facility if you have not been licensed. And the license requirements include training for the people who have to do the job.
Exactly. Then, if the people who are, I would say categorically that there was negligence on somebody's part, because as you've clearly stated, you're supposed to have trained personnel on the field, on the ground, to ensure that these accidents do not occur. So if that was not done and it happens this way, we cannot say that it was an act of God, and so then there's a defense for that negligence. Clearly, there was negligence on somebody's part. There was a gap. There's supposed to be trained personnel on the ground, which was not the case. And because what I will say is this: they're saying there was a storm, and then trees fell and killed these kids. And so, if they are trained personnel, they can detect that, well, these trees are weak, so we have to prune them to avoid, if there's a storm, it can be avoided. So once that was not done, then there was a negligence on somebody's part.
I see.
Yes.
Interesting. Let's hear from Kweku.
Well. Look, but for the statements made by Obri Bwahini, I was going to be a bit careful as to whether indeed there's any element of invisible forces or political groupings involved in the management of the area. But if I read, and this is my Joy Online, 21st March 2017, the things he said, they appear to give credence to the element that some party elements, even if not necessarily the invisible forces, some party elements or people sympathetic to the party went to take over the place. So perhaps we're delayed. I am keenly interested in the probe that has been announced. I think it should be fast.
But Kweku, Obri Bwahini suggests that there was a competent professional team because he was in charge and he ensured that there were people who knew the job, who were doing it, until the NDC came into power and they were driven away.
I was going to come there, but one thing is certain. From what he's saying, it appears, and you see there's an element of personal interest in Obri Bwahini's submission. He talks of sweet revenge and all those things. It worries me.
He said when they did it to him and his people, nobody complained, so we should shut up.
I wish he hadn't spoken. I'm being honest with you. And I've said last Wednesday, I said so on Kwame's program on Peace FM, I think he should stop talking or he should talk less. That's my own candid view. But you see, what he said
He's asking for equality and fairness. What is wrong with that?
Apply the law to get equality and fairness. Don't in any way justify or rationalize things that are not in accordance with law. You might not be personally liable or involved, but what you do makes your party suffer a certain collateral damage relative to its credentials in terms of its belief in the rule of law. It's a very difficult thing to say. He's my friend, so I find it difficult. But you see, here we have to put away the friendship and look at the issues the way they are. So he's actually, in a way, confirmed that there's a party element involved. Now, the other side, which I've been asking, and that's why I want the probe, and the probe is a more focused approach, the investigations. Did they just take over the place in terms of seeking to control the revenue, the security, or they also actually sent away the people who were the tour guides, those who have the competence, the professionalism to man the place were they also driven away? I don't have an answer.
Okay.
I've been asking myself, because you see, you can take over the place in terms of the revenue, which appears to be where their motive or interest is.
That is so.
And not necessarily take away those who manage the facility itself in terms of the professional or competent thing. But I don't have an answer. So I'm seeking the answer, and I was thinking that a probe, a focused investigation, will bring that about. If you leave it to those of us who sit on radio, TV, talk, the politics comes in, you will never get the answer. It's a mixture. But I think a probe committee, if the vice president has promised it, it should be quick. We don't have to waste time on this. Very quick, whilst we are grieving, whilst the state is helping to rehabilitate or compensate or help families and do what is necessary. We should not ignore the fact that people are interested in quick answers. And because it is the probe that can also lead to rectification, proper scientific answers to this thing. No, because at this stage, it's very difficult for me to see a material or scientific linkage between the accident and the presence of the invisible forces or political elements. It's very thin.
The suggestion including by this alliance is that because they took over, and again, okay, it's because of the question you ask. They say because they took over, of course, they didn't know how to manage these things, and they had no experience.
Were they managing all those things?
So that's a question you really ask.
I don't know.
But you see, the chief of the area also appears to ask the same question and seem to confirm what this group was also saying.
People would think I have a problem with chiefs. I don't like chiefs who talk too much. Chiefs who, when they talk, sometimes they have a tendency to talk by heart. There are chiefs who wear political hats. I know what I'm saying. Sami is shaking his head.
So he says he's an NDC sympathizer.
Sami, you see, the way the chief intervened, there's a way to talk as a chief. So, to be honest, I was not too inclined in introducing the chief's angle into this matter because of what people know. But you see, let's keep the focus.
All right.
A probe is necessary, and it should be fast. And these questions must be answered, and answered properly. That way, we can take the politics out.
Okay.
Because you see, the politics, especially the partisanship, helps the perpetrators.
To get away with it.
Yeah, to get away with it. And that's where my problem is.
Okay.
Otherwise, yes, people are grieving.
Right.
It's a
Right.
terrible, terrible accident.
Right. And I don't know what you say to what this group is saying. They say that the incident, because of what has been reported by the chief and also by the gentleman who was there himself and interviewed by reporters and admitted that he said, we are invisible forces, we are in charge, we take the money, and at the end of the day we go and make accounts to our chairman, and then there's a bank account where we go and lodge the money.
Yeah, but do we know the gentleman?
Yes.
Do we have his identity?
He says that.
No, I'm asking. Do
he
we
says
know
that
him?
because of that, I think we can find out from the journalist who interviewed him.
Yes, we need to.
He says that because of that, it is therefore clear that this is a situation of inexperience and skilled neophytes managing the place that led to the disaster.
Well, first of all, Samson, tragic story, calamitous.
Yeah.
Deepest commiserations to the families of the deceased, about 20 now, the latest count. There are others still in critical condition. We're here at the Kintampo Municipal Hospital and the Konfuanochi Teaching Hospital. So our prayers are with the injured, our prayers are with the hospitalized, our prayers and thoughts are with the families and the souls of the departed. My great leader, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, issued a statement following this incident and has called for a full-scale investigation into this matter. And I think that we all have to support that call. I'm glad that subsequently we've heard the government say that they will convene the investigations.
The former president also commiserated with the family.
Yes, yes. We have heard several accounds which seek to confirm that indeed invisible forces took over the place. I've listened to the MP for the area, the MP for Kintampo North. Your station interviewed him. It must have been Tuesday night, thereabout. He confirmed that a group claiming to be invisible forces took over the place and drove away the trained tour guides. Now, Obribuahin's statement, and he's a lawyer, senior lawyer, he says that first of all, I think that that whole interview, what he said was very insensitive. We are grieving, people are injured. That is not when you make this kind of intervention. It was very inhumane on his part. And I agree with Angu Kweku that he should not be talking. We heard him during the car snatching, and you were in court with him.
He was only reminding, why are you blaming him?
You see,
he was reminding us that in the NDC
there.
time, he suffered a similar thing. The MPP people suffered a similar thing.
So is it a personal agenda?
No, Samson, I'm coming to that. You were a lawyer. You were a lawyer then. Did you have a contract? Because he talks about a company, that his company was manning the place. Did you have a contract? Did you go to court?
Fantastic.
Did you go to court to enforce
That's a
the
good
contract,
point.
the sanctity of the contract? You're right. That had been violated. What did you do? What did you do? So, I mean, what are we calling? Even if it happened, are we calling for an eye for an eye? And then you say, oh, sweet revenge. When people are grieving, families have lost children. You know, as a former Deputy Education Minister, there is an angle to this that has not come up so far, which I'm concerned about. That Wenchi Methodist Senior High School, they have lost 15 students. Are we ensuring that their surviving mates receive counseling services?
Psychological.
They need serious trauma therapy. Especially
we understand they are receiving something like that.
Those who survived. Same for the roommates of the University of Energy and Natural Resources students. Right. We need to look at that. I'm also concerned about the impact on tourism. You know, for some years now, consistently, our tourism figures have been looking good. The tourism figures, as I have here, from 2012, 903,300 international tourists came into Ghana. We earned about 1.7 billion. It increased to 1.9 billion in 2013 with 993,600 foreign tourists. That figure is now in excess of 1 million, and we are earning more than 2.1 billion cedis since 2015. 5 times higher than our oil receipts. It remains our 4th foreign exchange earner after gold, cocoa, and foreign remittances. So it's a huge sector. Unfortunate for us, this matter has been blown in the international media. It was on BBC, Al Jazeera. I saw it on Reuters and Associated Press and other international networks. We need to quickly move in to assure the international tourism community that Ghana remains a great brand. Okay. And that is why an immediate investigation is needed, an immediate safety audit of all tourism sites is needed to boost confidence and to protect, because this is a major foreign exchange earner. Unfortunately, I filed an urgent question last week, and the Right Honourable Speaker is yet to admit the statement. And I reminded him yesterday during the business statement, and my honourable colleague was in the House when I reminded the Right Honourable Speaker. I'm hoping that in the coming week, because that's the last week of Parliament, we'll have an opportunity to raise this matter and get assurances from the Tourism Minister, steps that are being taken, first of all, to carry out an investigation, secondly, to carry out a safety audit, and thirdly, to put in place a program that will assure tourists, both local tourists and international tourists, that our tourist sites remain safe. The Daily Graphic did an impressive feature on the Kintampo waterfalls on pages 24 and 25, and I encourage those who have not yet seen it to look at it. And it doesn't make us look very good that we were not really paying attention to these beautiful Kintampo waterfalls, you know, very beautiful natural, you know, tourist site. And I think that we need to begin to pay attention. But Samson, the issue of invisible forces, it remains a major threat to every facet of our lives. That is why I want to repeat my call on His Excellency the President. Make an announcement that that group is disbanded. People should get jobs. Those who have to go home should go home. We don't need these groups taking over installations and taking over tourist sites, taking over offices. Where next? And they get in the way. It doesn't help the MPP in any way. It doesn't help their image. And especially for a president who is a celebrated, you know, human rights lawyer constitutional lawyer. This really is a terrible spot. And I wonder how, you know, he is feeling and how he is looked upon by his peers in the international community. This doesn't help. That is why an immediate disbanding of this group is needed, so that we can all have our peace of mind. As for the chief and where he may be coming from, did he speak the truth or not? To me, that's what is important. Did he speak the truth? After he said that, we've had other people who've granted interviews that, look, we've taken over, we belong to Invisible Forces, we collect monies, we collect monies, and then
we don't know whether
we collect money. An imposter.
You know,
I think it's the chief.
It was not the truth, it was commentary he ran.
Who?
The chief.
The chief was commentary. It wasn't the truth.
I will come to that. It was commentary.
Then you may end so that you do that quickly in 1 minute. We take a break. We come back to deal with NDC.
So we have, beyond the chief, we have heard the MP confirm. We have heard other people say they belong to the group. They collect monies and that they send it to the MPP vice chairman who has opened an account. Fortunately, an account has been opened in the name of Invisible Forces. These are easy things to trace and to track. So an investigation is needed. Let's get to the bottom.
Okay.
Very clearly, the chief stated that the reason the incident occurred was because Invincible Forces had taken over the management of the place. That was his statement. It was very clear and unequivocal on this issue.
Is it true?
Now, he did not...
They've taken over, yes.
Hold on. How do you say that it's because they took over, the tree fell on the children? How can that be a fact?
His suggestion is that the professional managers would have given good guidance when it was about raising and when it was raising.
Samson,
that's the question.
We are running into danger zones.
Were they chased away?
That's a change leaders. We have all come to a certain conclusion. We have all come to a certain conclusion that the signs were so clear that professionals would have known, but it's because it's Invincible Forces who were there. That's why they didn't know. Otherwise, what my sister has said would then come into fruition, because there was a duty of care. And if there's a breach and damage, negligence clearly will come in.
Okay.
You know. But what I'm saying is that what the chief was saying, he went even into the realms of spirituality, which was absurd to me.
Some of them.
He went into that realm. Gods were angry.
Well, we understand they have slaughtered a ram or something.
When he was pushed, he said that he was not a card-bearing member of NDC, but he was a sympathizer.
Okay. You know, so it was a kid.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I would like to say
doesn't really matter. Chiefs
what my brother has said.
Okay.
The constitution they shouldn't be engaged in active politics.
Save that. So the conclusion that
the causation, the causal link, like
that's the key point.
There was a disconnect.
Well, someone sent me a message. Daniel, he says he's lived in Kintampo, and he says that let's not bring in the Invisible Forces, because even in their absence, those who were managing it didn't have any sense of safety at the place in the first place. So it's not about who was managing it at any point.
So let's do the safety audit.
I agree with you.
Then you have the Invisible Forces coming in again, and Daniel Ablo says this Invisible Force will be the undoing of the NPP. Dr. Charles Rekubrobe also says the sins of the Invisibles have been visited upon the Deltas. Unruly conduct cannot be tolerated under rule of law. We take a break here. We'll return to ask the question whether the NDC will survive the current implosion.
I'll be listening.